Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Medizbal, and I am here to present our Project One Type Safari. We're going to go ahead and lead you to the bottom right corner of the project, which would be the Amazing Type Safari. I went ahead and titled it the Amazing Type Safari because it was a fun project and it was incredible to go out through the city and look around my surroundings and find letters throughout everything that was around me, which typography is everywhere we go. I went ahead and used a Spider-Man-like font, if not identical to Spider-Man, because like Spider-Man and the web crawling guy that swings through the city, I felt as if though I were swinging through the city, webbing every letter and piecing it together to create this project. So with this project, I found 26 letters that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed too. So I'd like to move your attention now to the first letter, which would be this Y down here. Definitely one of my favorite letters throughout this whole project. I went ahead and labeled it as a display font because as you can see, it's not your typical letter. It's has the basis of a typical Y following the stems that create the letter. But yet it creates the letter in a more fun way and it uses elements of other materials to create the letters, such as using wooden planks to create the Y. This here was used for a Disneyland attraction, and I believe it was some type of bullseye game. I believe it adds this element of happiness and enjoyment, and it's inviting, it's exotic, it's fun, it's magical, right? The display, I'm sorry, I just caught my typo right now. But yeah, exotic, inviting, fun. And the type of font was Mason New. Now, if I may turn your attention to my next favorite letter, which would definitely be this J right here. We have here a beautiful swoosh with a nice counter that develops with shading on the inside and creates this nice big bold effect. The type of font it was CM handwriting regular, and I loved it. Directly right over to the right of this, we have our next one. It's just so simple, right? It's this K, and I found this in the Whittier Museum. Typically, you just see a typical K that goes like this, but we have its stem over here to the left, right? It doesn't simply follow a pattern as your regular letter K would with a serif or sans serif. It does what it wants. It starts off from the top with its own little stem over here, drops down. Design of the K is fun. It's creative. It's exciting. It's magical. This came off of a magic poster, so of course you want it to feel like that, right? You want that feeling of magic when looking at a magic poster. You don't want to be bored again. You don't want to feel like, you know, you want that feeling of excitement, enjoyment. And how do you do that? You create a font that brings that experience beforehand, right? And this is a great example of how to do so. It's creative, it's exciting, it's magical, and the font type was cat crap regular. I loved it. We'll go over here to something a little more simple, not something so playful. We have ourselves here the letter A. Might as well start off on A, right? Or come up to A. So we have here sans serif, easy, simple. It's an A. You can't really go wrong with making an A, right? This came off of a helium gas tank. It uses a nice orange color with a nice fill so that it invokes vision, right? It's one of the first things you see. It's loud, it's cautious, it's bright. The title of it was Nuber Black, and it's a gray font. Simple. The use of it, perfect. Let's go with this letter. I do like this letter. Right on over here. This F, all the way to our right. So it's a little different as well. It's a serif font, but it's a safe serif font, right? And I like the way that the inside of the F kind of almost creates a counter, yet it doesn't, right? It invokes this eye-piercing vision where you just look at that F and it stands out. So I mean, this F is a serif that came from a fish sticks box, right? So typically a fish sticks, you want them to be, it's an edible item. You want to use a font that invokes classiness. It's creative and it's staring, It's close enough to where it's closed off F where it almost creates a counter and it's enjoyable. So the title of the font was Torrent Bolt. Now this hue is awesome, right? It's it's funky, it's psychedelic, it makes you look at it like, that's kind of cool. In a way, it's like kind of creamy, the way it shifts and sways with the U and the letter. It's playful, it's like it's creative. It's the way I described it was groovy, psychedelic, funky, and it is those things. It reminds you of those classic posters from the 60s. I believe it's the 60s. My music knowledge doesn't go too far, but let's say 60s. It came from an autism poster, which I thought was even more beautiful, right? How else do you get people to read something? You draw their attention to it. And with this letter U, I believe the attention was drawn perfectly. And using typography and using this letter to bring you in, it does that. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's different. It's not your typical U. On the right, it's a serif. On the left, it's doing what it wants. It's creating this pattern, this grooviness. The name of the font was Crooked Medium, and I went with script because it seems like kind of seems like you can go ahead and kind of just draw that in, right? It's not typically a display, I wouldn't say. It doesn't follow like a typical pattern of your other font types, but I do want to say it's a script. It just looks like somebody made that and just had fun with it, and I loved it for that. But nonetheless, it was a great project, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. So thank you guys for your time, and I hope you enjoyed my project as well. Thank you.